now we watch what we say or we get hit with the introductory shame.
Well said. I have to be very careful.
Wanna make that paper, wanna make that dough. This is the affiliate marketing show. Wanna make that paper, wanna make that dough. This is
What's up, everybody? This is Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. If you're not hip to OfferVault.com, we are the industry's largest aggregator of affiliate networks, direct advertisers, advertising networks, affiliate programs, affiliate offers, everything affiliate marketing. We are your one-stop shop. With me today, and as always, I have the CEO and founder of Ringba, the industry's best pay-per-call tracking company in the game. You need your calls tracked, you hit up Ringba, they got you covered. We also have the affiliate industry heartthrob, Harrison Gevirtz, with us today. And we have a man who needs no introduction. He's recognized as one of the top customer generators in the world, specializing in insurance and financial services. He's the CEO of Pocket Your Dollars, which was recently acquired last year. We're going to get into that in a little bit. And he is, well, my bad, Pocket Your Dollars, they help specialize in you achieving your financial freedom. And you probably actually know him better by his famous music production name, Tones. He's killing the game right now, making new beats and songs that you'll be dancing to no time. Let's give it up for Anthony Sarandrea. What's up, Anthony? How you doing?
What's up, dude? How do I get my title switched with Harrison on the heartthrob, dude?
I know, honestly, you look like
that's an envious title, dude. That's badass.
You got this.
You're
look
not
like
single, Tony. That's the problem.
Did Harrison write that in, Josh? Did he write that?
No, they just troll me with a new title every week. They called me a guru a couple weeks ago. I almost flew to fucking Ohio and kicked his door in.
Yeah, he did not like that.
You might want to run with heartthrob for the next few episodes. That's badass.
Let's go with it.
Yeah, I figured
so
I'd get a
just
good laugh out of
for
that.
everybody listening, Harrison is single, available, and knows how to sling clicks.
Yes, he does.
Take it. Clicks, calls, whatever. I'll sling them.
So that was a pretty good intro. I had a little hiccup there, but overall,
Yeah, that
I think I
hiccup.
did okay.
I'm already on Indeed doing a posting.
Yeah, damn it, Anthony. Should I call you Tony? Anthony, what do you like?
You know, I'll take it all. I'll take
All right,
whatever.
cool. Yeah, my job, if you haven't seen the show, is always it's hanging on by a thread every week. So I'm glad I got to be here for this. I don't know if I'll be here next week, but you're a pretty big guest, so I'm pretty stoked to be here today. Where are you talking to us from?
Scottsdale, Arizona, dude. I'm home base.
Oh, nice. You and Harrison, you're homies. Yeah, dude, I
right.
appreciate it.
Harrison's freaking 20. Harrison, fun fact for everyone on the show, lives a baseball throw to where I lived in high school. So
I can see the home he grew up in from my bedroom, and I look at it every night and just reminisce. Oh, little Anthony over there.
If
I get to sleep every night.
Harrison's in his window with binoculars every night, just looking at your house.
Unfortunately, it's probably my dad over Harrison's house, freaking looking in through binoculars.
I will say another fun fact. If you call Anthony Tony, I will assume it's his dad who hang out with more than Anthony for some fucking reason.
Are you AJ?
No, I'm actually not. We have a different middle name.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
So I do want to revisit Tones. I know it's not really internet marketing related, but I think it's cool. I was looking on your Instagram and I saw you said basically one day you were just like, I want to get into the music game. So I'm just really curious, like, how did that come about? Did you have friends in the industry that are doing it? Do you have friends that are just producing music and you're like, I want to learn how to do that? How'd you learn how to do that? Just kind of, the bird's eye view of like, what is Tones? What kind of music are you doing and how you got started in that?
Dude, I went to my first music festival, was Coachella, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And it's, I think I'll relate it back to everyone listening too. I think it was the first time I was away from my phone or technology for, must have been 6-7 years, like legitimately the first like 2 or 3 day period. And it was only because there was no service there. So it's just like awesome nostalgic, like opportunity for me over this 4-day, music festival to just disconnect from any technology. And like I've never done a drug before. I'm like not even like talking in like a psychedelic experience, just like really just like a breath of fresh air to not just be so plugged in for, at that time was at least 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it was I just got flooded with great feelings from it. And so I'd always been a fan of EDM music, the energy around happy people were all the time. And again, probably half of that is because of drugs. Not me, but it was, it's just really fun to be a part of. So, it must have been, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years. I was just looking for a new challenge, something that I hadn't been focused on, or that seemed fun to me. And I really, I don't know, sometimes maybe I just play games with myself. I wanted to see if there was something I could take from zero to substance where I had no prior experience. So I had no friends in the industry. I didn't know I've never played an instrument before, like everything from scratch, and said, how far can I get it, and how quickly applying, just life principles. And so, to answer your question, I have a manager I hired. I have coaches that I work with all the time. Like, just like anything I want to get good at, I go try and find the best of the best, pay them to teach me everything they know, go and hire great people around me to be able to get it to the next level. I'm 99% sure, I'll knock on wood, I'm going to get booked for EDC in the next month here, which would be a really
cool, that's huge, dude. Yeah.
So it'd be a really cool journey in a year and a half time, from not knowing anything about music to having almost 1 million streams across platforms to ideally getting booked at a major music festival. So it's really been all fun.
Hey guys, when is EDC?
It's in May.
It's in May?
I believe so.
Dude.
May 19th through 21st at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I just pulled it up because I mean,
Anthony, lots of industry people have been trying to get me to go to a party for years. And,
Is that the one? Is that the one?
My philosophy is, if it's not my party, I'm not going. But I think I might be willing to go to that.
Dude, that'd be badass. We'd have some fun, dude. That'd be sweet.
So Anthony, did you
got a recording timestamp? Josh, if you can record the timestamp so we can show it to Adam if he tries to back out.
Yeah, you should invite him with like VIP passes just to make it even harder for him to say no.
You know what I'll do? Actually, Adam, I know Adam only wants the presidential treatment. They have helicopters, Adam, that'll fly you from the strip to and from. We'll make sure we get that all set up for you. So you're flying in a helicopter, landing.
Oh, that's acceptable.
And then fly.
Wait. So you're telling me that I can get on a helicopter, land at EDC, only watch you perform, and then peace out on the helicopter?
Right. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm fucking going to that.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
On that shit.
Adam will be attending his first party ever in his life. I think this kind of does relate to maybe our audience in a way, just in terms of like starting from nothing and learning how to do something, right? So I want to touch back on that. I too dabbled in the music space a little bit, including production. So I know they sell like courses for like learning how to do Ableton and stuff like that. So, and I only know you use Ableton because I messaged you about it. But so did you do any of those like paid courses that kind of walk you through it? You have like no musical, I'm sure you like listening to music, but like, did you study music theory at all? Do you have a good ear? Like, what was your approach to actually learning it?
I do now, but not at the beginning. And it was interesting. It was, and hopefully this doesn't come off like egotistical. It had been a while since I had started as like a off the street, like newcomer, right? And didn't rely on like past like accolades or experience or anything to kind of jump the line, if you will. So I thought it was interesting. So I went online and I Googled, DJ coaches in Arizona. And I went to this guy and he thought I was a kid off the street. And it was remarkable for me to see how hard it can be, to go from 0 to 1. There's always books and thoughts in business or anything. And, this guy, from everything, I had already had a show booked. I had no idea how to DJ like 3 weeks later because of my being resourceful. And he almost fell out of his chair saying, "No, you can't do that. You won't be able to do that. You won't be good enough by then." And it was just interesting to see how, especially from 0 to 1, how external people or opinions or things can hold you down, or maybe even stop you from pushing forward to that next level. It's easy, right? When it's easy when you have a great company, Ringba, or you sold your company, or you're, whatever it is for people to cheer for you. But when you're, starting from zero, you're dealing with more external pressure, I think, and influence to that could halt you from getting to the next level. I remember it was like DJ Khaled was like getting made fun of for working out, and then everyone's calling him fat. He's like, "What do you want, a fat guy that doesn't work out?" Right? Like, he's like, so it was interesting to go through that psychologically. And of course I got rid of that coach and moved on to a next one, and then a next one, and then a next one, and then eventually found a great coach that I thought on board for my vision and dreams, that was skilled enough. So, and then, it's just like anything, you just keep progression and finding momentum. And then to answer your question, I learned that, okay, to get booked at major music festivals, which was my why, right? Like I started with, okay, what do I want to do? I want to be booked at a major music festival. I obviously thought you need to know how to DJ, which you still do. Learn, like, you have to be able to produce your own music to get booked. People have to be there for your own music. So then I said, okay, got it. I'll go start down that path and learning that path. And then same thing. I'm a huge, like, people are like, do you read a lot of books? I actually don't read a ton of books, but I have at least once. I want to say at least once a day on average, because like yesterday I had 3 meetings of people that are better than me in some category. Like I just got off a private Zoom call with the founder of AOL. Like I learned so much in an hour where I can actually ask questions as well too. Or if it's some guy who's really philanthropic or somebody who's really good at producing music, where I can get very real time coaching and learning and feedback, versus a book is obviously amazing because I can tap into someone's life in 200-300 pages. But imagine if I could, as I start reading about a topic, I can ask specific questions that apply to me. Well, how would you do this? How would you do that? So I get that a lot in coaching and mentorship on the other direction, where I'm paying mentors to be able to do stuff for me. So that's how I learned. I worked with coaches twice a week, 3 hours a week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but my schedule, that was a relatively big commitment to be able to go through and have people come to the house and go through, and I'm learning and able to ask real time. And I believe I learned faster. Someone would learn faster being able to have real time questions and feedback based on what you're actually looking to get to and go for.
Yeah. And so you mentioned going from 0 to 1. So moving right along to our next topic here, I'm curious, how'd you go from 0 to 1 when it came to the internet marketing space and getting your start and becoming the figure in the industry that you are today?
Yeah, dude, I had I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I was in college, and you'll laugh. I'm 5'9" and not height gifted. My dream was always to go play professional basketball overseas, was to go play basketball somewhere in Europe or Asia or something like that, and get paid to play professional basketball. A little delusional, right? But it was my dream and goal. My whole life revolved around doing that, and it was probably sophomore year of college where, for whatever reason, I had to wake up and was like, it's probably not the path you're going to go down, right? But I mean, I when I tell you that's all I thought about and did all day long, I was obsessive around that goal. And it was a little interesting retiring that goal and being kind of almost now like post acquisition, like what am I going to do next with my life? Like having a very comfortably uncomfortable time of being able to write the next chapter of my life is and was interesting. So I was just saying that, just having conversations at that time with people, and maybe not meetings, but just conversations with older people and their friends and their friends of friends, and what do they do, and then trying out different internships. And I remember all it was I had a mentor tell me, if you could X something off a list, it's just as good as circling it, that's what you want to do, because eventually you'll run out of shit to X off. And I thought that took a lot of pressure off for me, because I was so scared of circling that I want to be a fireman, figuring out that that's what I wanted to do. And it was a lot more approachable to focus on crossing off that I didn't want to be a police officer. I didn't want to be an accountant or whatever it was, because eventually I'd run out of, list of things to do and be left with 5 and say, oh, one of these 5 is what I want to do. So that felt approachable. So I started actually sorted by the highest paying internship at ASU, found a guy did custom LCD displays, doesn't even fucking matter. And it was for an internet marketing position. And I didn't know anything about the internet. I did door-to-door sales and solar hot water systems. And the position, I remember after I interviewed, I called my buddy and I was like, this guy has a crush on me if he hires me. I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. SEO, and HTML, and WordPress. And I was like, dude, I have no idea. I'm just bullshitting my way through the whole thing. Guy calls me, ends up giving me the job. He's like, hey, I like your energy and what you're doing, and I think you'll figure it out. And he's obviously saw something in myself I didn't see it. And so I started going down that path, and it was cool to start learning the internet, getting paid to learn. I would literally sit in his office, get paid at that time $15 an hour was like amazing for me. And get paid $15 an hour to really just do research and learn and be like, holy shit, you can actually sell people via the internet. And not have to go knock on someone's door in order to make a sale. I was kind of like obsessed and interested with the idea that I didn't need my I didn't need to physically be in front of someone to actually make a sale or to actually make a facilitate a transaction. So that was my first exposure to the internet.
And then how did you go from working that $15 an hour gig to becoming Tony Sarandrea, the icon that is?
I don't know about icon that is, but
I'm looking at Adam just losing it right now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Wait, shit. I was on mute. No, fuck.
Hardcore Robert. Dude, I'm trying to remember the fucking question.
Wow, did I just derail the whole interview?
I got it.
How did you become the internet icon that is Tony Sarandrea?
Sarandrea. Sorry, am I saying that wrong? Sarandrea?
Yep, you've been saying it wrong the whole ep, doggy.
Oh, okay. You guys, today we have Anthony Sarandrea on the
There
show
he is,
with
dude,
us.
he nailed it. That's all right. I've been Sarandrea my whole life, dude.
Okay, cool.
What were next steps from there? You're asking. I did exactly what I just said with the DJ stuff. I invested in a course that actually my business partner went on to become my business partner was doing. So I paid him for coaching and consulting. He eventually went on to be my business partner. Same time, I started having conversations around, and I think this is an interesting lesson. I went to a health club actually up by Harrison, the Village, and it's a really I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't strategically doing this. I was in the right room. I was around people. I made a post about my dad off a retired police officer salary, put me and my 3 younger brothers through private Catholic education. Undoubtedly, we were on the lower half on income in the school, but I don't think he even knew what he was doing. I think maybe he was following something religious, but he was putting me in the right room with the right people. And so I was at this health club that has a bunch of very well-off individuals at. And I was just having conversations and I was just asking people what they did. And I saw a guy on a Tuesday shooting hoops. And I said, what the hell do you do? And he said, oh, I work on the internet. And this, it's seemingly like when I look back, seems like it was all within like a day or two that I took my business partner's course and I had this job and I had this. Like reality was probably spread over 6 months to a year, somewhere in there. But I started working for a guy at the health club for free. He ran an internet marketing company. I went on to be business partners, paid for his course, and then I was still working for this guy. So I was taking a lot of action around where I thought I wanted to head. And I was okay that if at some point I said, hey, the internet's not for me, I was okay cutting it off. But I was gonna, just like we were talking about with the music stuff, I was gonna run at it 100 miles an hour. And give it the right shake to be able to be successful. And worst case, I never looked at it as a waste of time. I knew I was learning stuff along the way. So even if I pushed all the way up and I said, hey, the internet's not for me, I know there was amazing life lessons and things that I learned that I would apply to go be a police officer as an example, or whatever it is that I actually ultimately wanted to do or continue to reinvent myself to do. So took a lot of action, paid for a course, got a mentor, was working for free, busting my shit. And then I had a job where I could actually implement it daily, where I could actually go really play with someone else's money. I'm making it up. Let's say you had a $5,000 a month AdWords budget at the time. I was learning from this course. I was learning over here for a free mentorship. And then I was applying it to call it $5,000 a day of not my own money I got to play with and learn what worked, what didn't work. So it was a very low risk, just high, really at the time, which is all I had, which was time commitment. I was paying a lot in time, but I wasn't paying a lot of money. So it was low risk from a monetary perspective, if you will.
Would you say that during this process in your career that you were like 100% all in versus dabbling?
I would say my actions were 100% all in. Mentally, I was dabbling. And I don't even know if that fully makes sense, but I wasn't married to, if this didn't work, that it's all or nothing. Like I have to do this or nothing. So I wasn't.
Did you ever hit that level? Like how long in after you started really grinding was it like, this is it? This is all I'm doing. This is,
what's
shit.
Funny, dude? I'm going to answer this funny. I don't know if it ever has. I think I've always been open to it not being right. And like, even now, like post acquisition, like, I don't know if and I'm sure it will be, I'm not saying it like this, but I'm not married that my next business has to be an internet marketing business. Right. And ultimately I have to be kind of silly for it not to have a big, a portion of the business to relate to acquiring customers online, because that's a core competency I know at this point. But I don't know if it was ever like, this is this is it. I've written off every other idea that I could ever be or do anything else other than this. Now, to Adam's question, I certainly was all in from my action standpoint. I certainly am all in today from the actions I'm taking to figure out what the hell I do want to do next in life. But I don't know if that's the, I think that's the right answer for me. I don't know if that's an answer that helps a lot of people, but I certainly.
Well, I think it does. I think if you go back and focus on the portion of the answer where you said that all of your actions were 100% committed in the direction you were heading, even though that maybe mentally you were thinking like, is this the one? Or maybe I'm doing something else. I think for me, the key component of that is that all of your actions and energy were focused on this one single thing. So you were all in. You just weren't closed-minded about it, which I think is a different thing, right?
I would agree. So then, yes, to answer your question, yeah, all in for sure. Yeah, because I don't believe I could have half-assed this and then said, okay, that's not for me. I don't think I would have given it the right. If I don't give it the right shake, how do I truly know whether something's for me or not for me? And it's an interesting point to Adam, is like, it was tough because I obviously, if you haven't noticed, I do this all day long. I move. I've got way too much energy in this body, and to sit in front of a computer for 12 hours a day, when you take it at face value, is fucking horrible and daunting. But I fell in love with what I mentioned, the infinite reachability I had, where I wasn't geographically or time-based limited. I had more than 24 hours in the day. I had more than just my 2-mile radius that I could go knock doors on as a analogy to it. So I was obsessed and fell in love with what the actual mechanism was. I wasn't necessarily drawn back to the vehicle that was getting me there, which is a lot of times when I think things get stopped or people stop, it's when they lose, maybe they're focused on the vehicle getting them to the destination as being not the prettiest or coolest car they want to be in, but that focus on the destination and having extreme clarity around what I want to do with my life, where do I want to head. And at the time, listen, at this point, it's very easy for me to talk and say, I want to change the world and do great things. At the time, it was to make $100,000 a year where I had freedom of time. I didn't have a dick asshole boss that was telling me that was, not giving me a good quality life. I could work remote, which is at the time was an awesome, not new concept, but more rare concept. I wanted to work remote where I could work for who I wanted, when I wanted, and I want to make $100,000. And that was my destination that I wanted to hit. And the 12 hours a day in front of the computer, I didn't let draw me down from getting to that destination. Now, the beauty is when you hit, at least in my experience, when you hit a destination, you move to a bigger, greater, further destination, because it can be, it's the journey of getting there that I think is actually where all the fun and beauty in life is. It's not actually the destination you get to.
And you reach those goals, but now you have multiple bosses. It's great.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I said you hit those goals, and now you have multiple bosses.
Yeah, you know what though? It was control over my life on and listen, everyone always has a boss at any term. You guys have you could name your clients your bosses, things like that. But at a certain stage, like I'm sure you now believe that you're providing a ton of value to your clients to where you can choose who you want to work with, how you want to work with them, things like that. And that's the ultimate end goal, right? Like, is to have partners or partnerships, right? People that are on the same page as your vision on where you're going to head. And they're not going to, on the internet marketing agency I had, they're not going to call me up and fire me on a Saturday night and go, what the fuck's going on? They're going to have a collaborative conversation around how do we grow or how do we do better here? And these are, eventually I get to choose to only work with my friends, right? Or people I actually enjoy doing business with, things like that. Like that was the ultimate goal. So yeah, you're right. You go from a traditional 9-to-5 boss. And, at the time I felt like I didn't have a boss. You're right. I had 10 internet marketing clients that were all my bosses, to your point. And then, eventually moved from, 5 bosses by that definition and 5 partners. And then eventually you have 10, we'll call it, friends that you work with and make money together. And I think that's the ultimate goal.
Harrison has jokes, but you're exactly right. I mean, I have thousands of bosses, unfortunately, but I'm very fortunate for that. And I think, I've had to explain this to people numerous times, Anthony. People always ask me, like, are you going to sell Ringba? Are you trying to get acquired? Or like, what are your goals? And I think it's interesting to tell them that my goals aren't actually financial. My goals are to impact as many entrepreneurs and people in performance marketing as I possibly can and help as many of them grow their business as I possibly can. And so I report to those people. And my wife has asked me numerous times about this, and my reply is always the same. Like, if we sell Ringba, then I got to go do another one so that I can continue to fulfill my mission. So at some point, the mission changes from the financial milestone to the personal one of fulfillment. And I think that's when you actually get to start to change the world, when your why becomes bigger than yourself. And so what you said resonated a lot with me there, because you're right. We all have a boss, but the question is, did you choose that boss? And do you enjoy serving that boss, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah. And to your point, I think the irony is you guys have experienced incredible success because of that frame you're coming from. It wasn't to, how do you make another, $2,000 out of this client, or how do I get, go buy a third mansion? It was how do I serve? And I think it's the funniest irony in life is I relate it to, like, I share sometimes this on podcasts. This could be useful. I had maybe like a 2-month period of like panic attacks. I'd never had a panic attack before in my entire life, never experienced anxiety. And during that period, I found that the more I focused on it, the more I got of the negative, the less the more I focused on the right things, the more I got of that. So it's just this interesting irony in life that, to your point, the more you're focused on adding value to other people's lives, you end up receiving abundance of it, whether that's money or enterprise value or whatever it is. So and I think the quicker, and I used to be if we talked 2 years ago, a little bit more naive to, like, don't focus on driving a fucking sick car, living in a suite house. Like, I get that if that's where you're at today, like that's your focus. I think you'll eventually find that the fuel that you're talking about, Adam, is so much stronger octane to run a car off of than unleaded fuel, because it's why you work the hours you work. It's why you guys have grown the speed you've grown at. It's why you guys have such an unbelievable platform for people to utilize and leverage. And yeah, dude, I think it's beautiful when you're focused on something outside of yourself. It's like anytime, I heard a quote somewhere, anytime we're experiencing pain, we're focused on ourselves and we're focused on being selfish. And I think when we're focused on serving others, or how we can make the world better, or how we can do things to add value to other people, I think that's when we actually weirdly get everything we ever could have wanted selfishly in return. It's a very funny irony.
Well, that's when scale also opens up to unlimited. And so if you're growing a business right now, the reality is, if you're focused on me and the cool car or whatever the financial milestone is, you probably can make $1 million or a couple $1 million. Maybe you'll be a millionaire, right? Which is cool, right? I'm not knocking anyone else's goals. If it's about your family and your legacy and your team, you probably can build a $10 million business, right? It's going to take a few years. You'll get there. You'll become a multimillionaire. But generally speaking, if you want unlimited scale, if you want to dominate a market, if you want to be a billionaire, right? And I'm not there yet, but the reality is you have to have a mission and a focus and a goal that drives you, that is bigger than yourself, that inspires you and your customer and your team, so that when you run into these incredibly powerful headwinds, because they're there and they're going to try and stop you, that you can focus back on your mission, whatever that mission is. And as long as the mission is bigger than yourself and positively impacting as many people as possible in your own way, then you get the courage and the bravery to fight through those headwinds, and then you can build a business of unlimited scale. And so this is something that I've meditated a lot on, over the last 6 months. And it's incredibly powerful. Whenever I run into an obstacle, no matter how complicated, I think to myself, like, I obviously have to deal with it, but if I just focus on my mission, eventually the weather will open up, and we can start sailing again. It's when you turn that focus inside, like you said, that it can become incredibly detrimental and scary. And so that's why I'm super grateful for my customers and our mission, because it's fulfilling to me. So no matter where I'm at, like, I can always point my ship towards that, and it centers me and helps me focus.
Yeah, I love that, dude. And I think even anyone listening, if you're a solopreneur or just, for me, it was, I mentioned my selfish goals that I wanted. I hit them. It was a low period in life. It was kind of like empty. It was like, I got it, but this is it. And I think
Hello, this is Josh from the Affiliate Marketing Show.
Because,
Oh, are you there? You froze for a second. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Let's start with you. You hit your goals, and then it was an empty lull. Go from there.
Empty lull, and I said, I think half the people on here can probably relate to, hitting a goal and feeling empty, even if it's buying a new pair of shoes that 3 weeks later that pair of shoes you were so excited about becomes relative, and now you're on to the next new pair. Like, that's an empty progression, right? And for me, just as far as like the next like quick easiest step, it was a friend or a family member, or it could be an employee, and you say, how do I pull this other person up with me? How do I get them to make the same as I do? How do I get them to experience the same quality of life I do, whether it's freedom of time, again, like some of these other elements we talked about, or whatever you enjoy where you're at today in life. So for me, it was just focused on how do I bring, at the time it was my brother, how do I bring my brother to that level? And then it became my friend, and then my other friend, and then it was a team, and then it was a customers and everything around that. And we'd start tracking how much money we're saving. We'd say, how many leads did we drive today? Turn in X amount of closes. Those closes save the customer how much money. Boom, every morning we post it in. And then I've got a part-time guy going out and getting testimonial videos from those callers that spoke for over 40 minutes, as an example, getting a testimonial and them talking about how much money we save them. Why did we do that? Because it helped us understand what the impact we were making. And that was the fuel, or the why. We got to hear Susie Q in Alabama talking about how much money we saved her, how much we helped her. And that's what drove us. And Adam's talking about, I think, the quicker you can get to there, where it's, your customers, incredible. Even if it's today, it's maybe your team or your wife, to be able to have experience a different level of living, like something outside of yourself versus I want. It's how can I help, my wife, my kids, my family member, my first employee, my assistant, my accountant, whatever that is, my customer, ideally at the end of the day.
So I want to ask, actually, I want to unpack this. There's so much I want to talk about in this episode, but before we move on, so you guys talk about, less focusing on you, right? Don't chase that financial goal, figure out how you can serve others. But when does that change? Because that's something personally I struggle with, right? I am chasing that financial goal, but I'm wondering, do you change to serving others once you reach a certain point? Or is it that the financial goal is met once you start serving others? Because I feel you could make an argument for both. Like, okay, I'm at a good place now I can start serving others. Or is it, I'm not there yet, but I'm going to start serving others and then you get there? What would your answer be to that?
I think there's ultimately, I think, what do they say? One option is no choice. Two options is a dilemma. And three options is really a real option. So to say, do I just focus on money? Do I just focus on serving others? I don't think those are choices. I think that's a dilemma. I think the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh option, which I would explore, and I would say in any decision-making tree I make or you make, I would go through what's the option 3 through 7, and ultimately you'll figure out there's 12 options actually, and somewhere out of those 3 to 7 is actually the real answer. But to answer your question, it would be incredibly naive for me to say, if I'm making up a number, 40 grand a year and you want to get to 100, that your life wouldn't change substantially, for sure. At 100 to 150, does your life change a ton? Maybe not. I actually had this conversation the other day. A guy who was talking about quantum bands of income. And he was saying, and we'll just use round numbers. We'll say 100 to 150. He said, your lifestyle doesn't change. So why are you taking attempts and swings to go from 100 to 150K income? Why would you not be going? When does your lifestyle change? Is that 250? If that's the case, why not take swings to get to there? So he's a VC, he's worth $100 million. And he's saying for him, again, it's easier with bigger numbers. I get it. Everyone rolling their eyes. Going from 100 to 180 million, he doesn't change one thing in his life. But from 100 to $250 million, he starts having a private jet and all these other things, right? Like, again, roll-eyed scenario I'm giving you here, but the principle applies at different numbers as well too. So it's interesting what you're saying. Again, if we talked 3 years ago, I'd be like, focus on other people. That's it. That's a naive comment for me at this stage. So I do understand this is what I want. And I do also understand that everyone needs to experience lessons on their own. You need to get to 100 grand and realize, oh shit, this is kind of a low period, kind of empty. I'm glad I'm there, but this isn't really what gets me out of bed anymore to go to 150 or 200 or 250. There's got to be more, right? And so I think that's different for every person. Admittedly, that was just me. I didn't have a family, a kids, other things could be a different number. But I would really look for, now that this is my direct comment, I'd really look for what you mentioned, which is the middle ground. I don't think there's anything wrong with having financial goals. I just think they're reach better focusing on adding value. If you take business, you look at it as I'll talk a little bit like religiously here. Business is a spiritual game, in my opinion. You have to add value to substantial amount of people consistently in order to make money. Like that's it at the end of the day. So if you're focused on making more money, the real question you're saying is, how do I add more value to more people consistently? And people will pay you for that value, for the number of people that are receiving that value and getting it on an ongoing basis. I think that's where and how you actually go make more income. So I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to go from 70 to 100, 100 to 200, whatever that is. I just don't think I think the right framework to do that starts from a value creation standpoint, which is exactly what Adam and I are talking about, which is how do you serve others and do more for others? Like I imagine, I'm making this up, I'm imagining Ringba had a customer say, I've got a problem. Can you solve this for me? Or, hey, I don't like this. And then the engineering team building it into a feature that now can go get rolled out to more people, that now allows those customers to scale, spend more money with Ringba, or refer them to someone else to come on because that was a problem that other places didn't solve. I can imagine that being, and that could come from a how do I make more money standpoint, which is really how do I solve problems for people, or it can come from a how do I help people and do more for the world, which could be how do I solve more problems for people. So I think you arrive at both, looking at, potentially could arrive at both, but I think when you're doing it from the framework Adam's talking about, I think you get there quicker and it's a lot more enjoyable of a process than banging your head when you went from 70 to 80,000, you meant to hit 100,
You're also doing it at a different scale. And so if I'm thinking like, how do I buy a new car, or how do I hit a financial milestone, that limits the way I think about how I impact people. Because if it's, 100K a year, I'm like, all right, well, I got to deliver 100K a year in value. So I don't even think about the financial milestone, to your point, Anthony. What I think about is how can I impact the most people in the biggest way as fast as possible. And if I can do that, I can't calculate the financial reward, but I know it's going to be there. And so, to give you an idea, Josh, like at Ringba, we have enterprise Slack channels where our customers are able to communicate directly with our team. And I'm in every single one of those. We have a ton of them. And the reason I'm in every single one of them is so I can listen to our smartest customers, not necessarily the biggest. We generally give them to our smartest. And I can listen to every single one of them so I can hear their needs and I can try and help their businesses grow in the biggest way possible. And so when I'm able to combine all that feedback, I'm able to organize the change and resources that we have to impact as many people as possible in the biggest way. And then that usually results in the largest financial impact that I could hope for. So in your case, Josh, I think what's interesting about what Anthony said is you can have the financial milestone, but you'll get there faster if you look at how to serve people. So if you ask your customers, like, hey, Mr. Customer, thanks for being a customer. How could I serve you better? How could I do more for your business? What's your biggest problem? And, what can I offer you?
That's my favorite question right there.
Yeah. And
like, hey, what's the biggest problem you're trying to solve in your business?
Yeah. And the responses I get from those are generally crazy, like in a good way. They'll give me all the feedback I need to sort of move the needle. And then the bigger you try and serve someone, the less likely you're going to be able to calculate the overall financial impact, but the bigger it's going to be. So at some point, you sort of just stop thinking about the financial milestones. For instance, I don't think about them at Ringba at all, like literally. And people ask me like, how big, how much revenue, whatever. My reply is, I don't think about that stuff. I just literally think about how can I impact as much positive change as I can. When you make that mindset shift, Josh, it just changes your life. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether it's $10, 10 million, 100 million, whatever. When that mindset shifts, it removes the ceiling. You literally can change the world.
So, Mr. Sarandrea, I think I said it right this time. Speaking of financial goals, Pocket Your Dollars was recently acquired, I believe, last year in 2022. Now, for those of you who don't know about Pocket Your Dollars, they're an online marketplace for Americans to compare and find the best options on insurance coverage or financial products. That's taken straight from your website, so I hope it's accurate. It was featured on Ellen DeGeneres. It has over 2.5 million Americans that have called already. I'm sure that number is much higher today. But what I really want to know is, what is your experience like going through an acquisition process like this? What's that first phone call? Are you making it? Are they making it to you? What's the stresses associated with an acquisition? Or what advice can you shed on someone who's going through an acquisition right now that you're on the other side of it?
Oh man, those are all so going an hour for each one of those different life stages you said. Do you go on it if you're in the middle of it, post? But I'll tell you, so my journey, we hired an investment banker, which again came from a lot of the principles I'm preaching here, which is getting better at learning or understanding business. So I found out they're commission-only salespeople, which means for me, it was a free education. I was like, hell yeah, this is great. I don't have to pay them to go through a process and learn everything here. And worst case, I learned a ton. So hired an investment banker. Through that process, they start putting together what's called a SIM, which is basically a thing of like a PowerPoint presentation about your business. They go blast it out to 200 people that might be financial or strategic buyers. And then they come back and they you're setting up Zoom calls. I must have been on 70 different Zoom calls. You get offers, then you get down the company, say, okay, I'm gonna move forward with, and then you go from there. Along that process, I learned so much about what people loved and hated about my business. There was a lot of things that were just second nature to me. I just said, oh, those aren't a big deal, that people loved. And there were a lot of things that I thought were awesome that people absolutely hated and would throw out. So I get to essentially, even if nothing happened, I had a free blueprint on what companies that would eventually want to spend money on me for wanted. And I got to start making real-time adjustments to my business along the way. So moving forward, I will continue to invest in relationships with investment bankers, and any new space, new product, new service that I launch, I will start a lot of those conversations with those bankers to say, hey, can you put me in contact with a potential financial buyer, which I can explain, a potential strategic buyer, which I can explain as well too, and be able to get feedback on what they're looking for instead. And essentially, imagine this: if I could come to, if I'm Google and I'm creating a AI search engine, I'm making up a silly example. If I could sit down with Google and say, hey, I want to sell to you in 5 years. What do you want? Right. And like, it's not that bluntly you're going to get that, but that's pretty much what I got. Hey, I want to sell to you. What do you want? And now someone actually said, I'll take it as is, or as you've engineered it throughout the last year of the process and learnings. But had they not, I had a really good blueprint to go apply to my business to eventually come back and be able to actually make an exit based on what they want. Dude, happy to dive in deeper into any of that. But that's
I have a question for you. What would you have, and this is very open-ended, what would you have done differently?
Yeah, and it's funny, you and I talked about this before too, and I've put thought into it as well too. One thing I would have thought differently is I never thought I was building something to sell it, right? It's just like how we talked about. I thought I had a good cash flow business. I thought I was helping a lot of people, my team, all the stuff, which I was, and I'm glad I came from that frame. But had I put on a little bit more of a engineer to sell hat, I think I would have learned some of the spaces, and you and I talked about this, some of the spaces that I was in, I would not have been in. I would have spent more time. I've got a belief, and this maybe isn't 100% correct, but it takes relatively the same energy, effort, and abilities to crack auto insurance, as an example, as it does debt settlement. Debt settlement, not one human on the planet wanted to buy. Auto insurance, if you go look at every public company in the lead gen space, auto insurance makes up a massive percentage of the revenue. That's not any inside information. That's all public. You can go look at all that, to the tune of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So I would have chosen the strategic spaces that I was in better, because I would have learned that I would have sold for a higher multiple. I would have been more attractive to buyers. I would have had more, a lot more stability in my business as well too. I wouldn't have had some guy trying to run away on a $200,000 invoice. I would have had a direct insurance carrier set pre-open enrollment budget for me and say, here's how many millions of dollars of calls I'm going to buy from you before the period even started. So there's a ton of benefits, in my opinion, in working in quote unquote bigger, more crowded spaces. I think that's what I 100% would have done differently. I would have looked at different spaces that I was attacking.
So how do we get affiliates to think more about how to build an actual business versus just running traffic? And, just to give you an idea for the OfferVault audience, it's a lot of affiliates across all verticals, not just pay-per-call. And obviously I'm a little biased. I love calls too, because it's big companies, it's sustainable. But how do you think we evangelize affiliates thinking more long-term than generally how they do?
I think you start with the pain point they're experiencing. So if I'm talking to someone here who lit up traffic source, made some money, had their shit scrubbed, or the offer went down, or they put it like it's a rat race in a lot of ways. And I think if anyone listening, take a second and look backwards on where you might have rat racy things in your past and say, shit, I put in a lot of time, energy, effort into this that eventually died. You know what I mean? And it's almost like a bunch of like one night stands. Like you're like cool at first, awesome, but I'm sure very quickly it becomes empty, and you're like, you know what? I actually want to find someone I can build a life with. Not right. I'm not saying everyone, or maybe everyone at this stage, like, but I believe eventually you're like, and Adam, I know you're a big proponent of this too. You're like, okay, who can be a partner with me for the rest of my life, right? Like I'm looking at like business similarly, and how would you treat a one night stand girl versus a partner for life girl?
I'm taking notes, Anthony.
Very funny, very silly analogy, but it's true, right? Like you would do dramatically different things. You'd go on different dates. You'd ask different questions. You would target a different type of girl that you were going to go out with, not just the one that's going to sleep with you right away. Someone who actually shares in your values, things like that. So I would look backwards at your business one night stands you've had and realize how maybe there was some emptiness there, and say, okay, if I were to take, because it's really not that fundamentally crazy different to go look for a partner you're going to be with, that you plan to be with and get married to and have kids with, and someone a one night stand. Like you're still taking a lot of the same actions. You still have to go out on dates, you still have to have conversations, right? Like there's probably 70% same with the bulk. And I would say a lot of people that are doing, one-off affiliates that are making, I'll call it cheap money or quick money, it's you've got 70% of the makings of maybe even more of a real business and a real business owner. It's just, where am I missing those other 30%? So some of those things might be like hiring a team around you, like you mentioned. It's maybe looking at some of the spaces you're spending time and energy to, and having a little bit more trust in yourself that you can go figure out a more evergreen space, a little bit more above board space than dick pills or something like that, right? Like but you probably know how to run traffic very well, and you're probably a very good marketer. So how do you formalize the relationship with your buyer or your end buyer? Or do you go upstream and create the product or service? And then the team around you, who else is helping you build this for you and with you?
Let me jump in real quick, Anthony. I think, and Adam and I have talked about this a lot over the years, I would say, firstly, a little off topic, 2 episodes, I think 50% of the episode 2 episodes ago was about dick pills. So great.
I was going to say, we cannot escape dick pills on this show. I don't know why they just keep coming back.
But about what you're saying, I think there's 2 kind of humps that the like single affiliate, solopreneur, whatever you want to call it, gets over to really building a business and something that has value and it can become, acquirable. That's the word, but it's number 1, learning how to delegate and being having a team, building a team, not just, doing everything yourself, like literally being a one-man show. And then the second thing is, Adam and I have literally used this now, not spinning plates anymore. And running kind of tasteless stuff, etc. That's the plate spinning. You're running an offer, it goes down because it was shitty, comes back, your Facebook account gets nuked, oh, your Google account gets nuked, I'm cloaking, I gotta get more, that's the plate spinning. And once you can kind of get your head around that, away from that, and start to build like what you're talking about, the going on dates mentality, you can start to progress there.
For sure. And I think the delegation comment you mentioned, sorry, Adam, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, probably it's very similar to what you were going to say. I think it's not a real business until you can get hit by a bus and the business still grows, right? Like if I go away on a 3-month vacation and come back, Ringba is going to be bigger. And that's because our team shares the same values, shares the same mission. And, we've built an organization to be resilient where everyone knows how to make decisions the way I would make them. And so, that's what affiliates really need to strive towards is, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, does my business still exist and thrive? And when you can say yes, then you have a real business that can be acquired.
And I'll say to all the people sitting back listening that are making $100,000 to $1 million somewhere there by yourself, kind of like, okay, I hear you, but why do I care making good money? Which I have those calls all the time. I would say, how dare you be so small-minded? You had a 1 in 400 trillion chance. 1 in 400 trillion chance of being worth on this planet. By the way, $100,000 or $1 million a year is fucking nothing. It's nothing. It's not, if you want to talk financially, it's nothing. That doesn't support you to be financially independent for the rest of your life. You can't live off $1 million for the rest of your life. You can't invest that and live off the dividends of that investment for the rest of your life. It's nothing. So if you really want to be challenged, and there's so many conversations I have on, I'm making 500 grand a year by myself, why the hell would I look for more? How dare you think so small-minded with this gift of life you were given?
Well, not only that, how are you going to change the world with $500,000? That's what we're here for. You want to impact change and do something that really fulfills you and changes the world in a powerful way. You can't do shit with $1 million.
Yeah.
Like you need to think huge. And that's the thing. Elon Musk has the same 24 hours a day that everyone else has, but this guy's changing the world and doing crazy shit. And it's inside of all of us. And if we tap it and we find our calling, life is just a better place. And I think what you're talking about, Anthony, is just complacency. And it drives me nuts too, because affiliates and people in our industry are some of the most creative, smart, clever, amazing people I've ever met. That's why I love this industry. But they're like a few percentage points away from really going all in. And so cool, make a few $1 million a year, even for a temporary period of time. You got to rebuild it. Great. How many people did you positively impact? And I think, those people, they find themselves empty, after you have the Ferrari, it's super fun for 30 days and then it's a burden. But when you change people's lives for the better, you can wear a $10 Amazon shirt and not care. And that's real freedom, I found. And so I hear frustration in your voice, and I really, really like it. I don't know how it's going to come across, but I love it because I spoke on stage and maybe 3-4 years ago at this point. And I was reflecting before this speech, I said, what's the backbone of not every business, most businesses? It's marketing, right? It's a net sales, marketing, is every business. Sales and marketing is every business. And we as an affiliate community are some of, if not the best sales and marketing people on this planet. How the fuck is there not major unicorn billion-dollar startups birth out of affiliate marketers? And I think it comes back to that complacency. It comes back to I make 300 grand a year, 500 grand a year. I'm love where I'm at. I'm buying bottle service. I'm doing this. It's so fucking infuriating that so many world-changing businesses could be birthed out of someone listening to this podcast that may not be, because they're okay, they're satiated. When the best time to kill a crocodile is after they ate, because they're satiated. And that's what I'm afraid of, is the people on here that are satiated by making 100 grand, 500 grand, $1 million by yourself, and you don't have the courage to go hire and have someone steal from you. You don't have the courage to go hire the wrong hire and then mess up. You don't have the courage to say, how do I delegate myself out of this to where I can spend my day thinking, staring at a wall like Warren Buffett does all day long, and say, okay, how can I be more strategic with what I'm doing and become a real business owner? If you don't have, in my opinion, you don't have at least 3 employees, probably even, there's a book, it's called The E-Myth. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone. If you're a solopreneur, you're not an entrepreneur. And I stop labeling yourself as that. You built yourself a job. If you have, call it 3 to 5 employees, you're probably becoming a very good manager. At that point, you're probably a good manager. You're still not an entrepreneur. I don't know if there's an employee count, but I'll tell you what your day looks like. If your day is, in my opinion, over 50% not doing things, probably even a higher percentage, I'll be generous with this, so I'm not hurting too many people's feelings, working on the business versus in the business, meaning it's looking at the next space we're going to go into. It's trying to go get new talent and acquire. It's understanding how, if I could re-engineer my books or look at my P&L for where I'm bleeding, things like that, or how do I add personal development so I can have better psychology as a leader. Until over 50% of your day is doing that, you're not an entrepreneur, and I would stop labeling yourself as that. And I'm saying that on purpose to be a fucking asshole to you, because I want whoever's listening to this to have a real shot in the heart. And because I'm sure they're around a lot of people saying how awesome it is, how much money they're making. I'll tell you, Adam, and I share this with you. I'm in a group called Tiger 21. I joined post-exit. You have to have a certain net worth to be in there. I am the smallest piece of shit in that room. Everyone there's got over $100 million net worth.
I feel like a fucking loser in that room. And I'm not, and I'm so happy I'm in that room because I want to be, you know, what is it? The rule of thirds, 50% of people above you, 50% below you, 50% that are the same size as you level. But I'm guessing a lot of people that are listening right now aren't spending a ton of time with people that are kicking them in the nuts saying, dude, you got a lot more in you. Congratulations. If you're even spending the time, investing your time to listen to this episode, there's something special and different about you than the rest of the world. People watch, 6-7 hours a day of television, and you're spending an hour and a half listening to a podcast. You're different and you're unique. And that's fucking amazing that you're investing in yourself in that. Now go do something with that. Go do something more. Take chances to become more than just a affiliate that makes quick traffic or quick money. And again, too, I hope nobody feels disrespected anything I said. I hope it's just a kick in the nuts because I love and care about you, because it'd be very easy to say how fucking awesome it is that you just bought a new Lamborghini and I love it and I want to ride in it.
Anthony, I always think when we can't even hit half of our topics, let alone all of our topics, it's a pretty fire episode. And I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show today. So much other stuff we wanted to talk about, but guess what? That means you're coming back. We're going to have you back on down the road. You are a fantastic guest. I think everybody needs a kick in the nuts once in a while, so I don't think any apology is needed. That was awesome. For Josh from the Affiliate Marketing Show and OfferVault.com, for Adam Young, the CEO and founder of Ringba, Harrison Gevirtz, the affiliate industry heartthrob, and Anthony Sarandrea, the man with the master plan. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you guys next time.
Affiliate marketing.